Hi everyone, welcome to our Tea Club. Today we're continuing our discussions on how to integrate STEM elements in your lessons. Today, I, Tolonay Turgazieva,
and I, Agirem Kushainova, would like you to join our discussion related to teaching with graphs.
Yes, and before doing that, we'd like you to pay attention to the 3 stages of the activity.
Can't wait to see it, so let's start.
Good morning everyone, how are you today?
Fine, and you?
Thank you, I'm fine too. So today we'll discuss something about health. What do you think about when you hear the word health?
Your feelings?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Health. Humans. Bodies. Something.
Wellness of your body.
Yeah.
When do you have good health? How do you describe yourself?
Healthy.
Healthy, okay.
You feel your
Logic.
You're feeling good.
Yeah.
You're fit and strong?
You're strong, you're fit, you're doing maybe some sports. Or basically you don't have any illnesses, yeah, when you're healthy.
You have temperature.
Okay, you don't have a high temperature. And have you ever heard about term mental health?
Yes.
What do you think that means?
Psychology.
Okay, something related to psychology. Yes, Taisia?
The same thing.
Your psychology feelings.
Okay, your feelings, emotions.
Mental, it's kind of not your first health, like heart.
It's not related to body organs.
yeah.
What does it relate to?
It's
Your brain.
Your brain, yeah? It's how you feel, your mood. Do you know the word mood?
Yes.
Okay, so today we'll look at this graph. Do you guys know the word depression?
Yes.
Okay, bullying.
Yes.
What is bullying?
It's
When you-
something, for example, someone say bad words or do something negative to you or to other person.
And where does it usually happen?
In school?
It's cool.
In schools or somewhere that you go with your peers, yeah? Okay. Drug addiction.
drug addiction.
Do you know the word addiction?
Yes.
What is addiction?
It's when you drink
like
coffee
habit.
a lot.
It's when
And
you're
can't
obsessed
stop.
with something.
You get used to something and you can't stop doing it, yeah?
Yes.
When you're addicted to drugs, it means that you can't live without them, yeah?
Yeah.
Drinking alcohol. We all know. Poverty.
It's when a human goes to teenage age, yeah?
Oh, no, that's puberty.
What's the...
Okay? Do you know the word poor?
Yeah.
What is poor?
No, but
The person that having more money.
Yes, when you don't have money.
Yes.
Poverty is a noun.
Oh, it's poverty.
Okay? Teen pregnancy. Do you know what's pregnancy?
Yes.
Okay, Agirim, can you explain us?
When you have a baby on your
Young age.
yes.
Okay, when you're expecting a baby.
Yes.
And gangs?
It's bandits.
Today, we will be working with graphs. Okay? Please. Okay, just take one and pass it around. And we will have 2 more. Thank you. Okay. You have a little description. Aidar, can you read it, please?
this graph showing the
Percentage?
percentage of American teenagers aged 13.
Okay. So, what is this? What is this graph?
It's percentage
About mental health.
diagram,
Yes.
kind.
Taisia, go on.
About mental health teenagers.
How old are they?
Like 13 to 17.
Uh-huh. And how many people took this survey?
900.
900.
Uh-huh. Okay, so this is all we have to know. Now, I want you to look at this graph individually and answer this question. What do you notice about this graph? You can look at the numbers, percentages, and write down 1 or 2 sentences that you notice. Aygirim, can you please tell us one thing that you noticed?
Drug addiction is a major problem, I think, because almost 15% of all teenagers ages 13 to 17 are addicted with the drugs. They can easily destroy their health.
Okay, that's good. And Eristan, what did you notice?
Okay, I think bullying is a real major problem because when someone makes you to feel embarrassing, people feel sad. It is the reason of depression and lots of suicides.
Wow, that's great. Okay, good job. Now let's think about next question. So, what do you wonder? Do you remember the word wonder?
Yeah.
Yes. So, like, what do you want to know? What are you curious about that comes from this chart? Okay. Take your time, and when you and your partner is ready, start discussing. Okay. Are you ready? Let's start with the first group. Taisia, what did you want to know?
I want to know why people who answer that all the problems are not problems at all. Did they think that the gangs it's not a problem at all? It can be as they finish this story about gangs, it can be killing or something bad also.
It can be serious, right?
Yes.
Now let's go to the last thing. What story is this graph telling? So you look at all of this information, and think of what is the idea behind it, or what's the main, like a big picture for this graph. Okay, I'd like you to write it down. It can be 1 or 2 sentences. Okay, can you read us what you wrote?
Many teenagers think that it's normal to be addicted to drugs, to drink alcohol, bullying. Depression is bad. I think that it's problems, it's real problems that the teenagers are the future from the world, and if they are if they are addicted to drugs and their health are bad, it may be the world is too, it will be bad too.
In the future.
Yes.
Okay, good. Aygirim, let's hear your opinion.
I think these teenagers are teenagers whose parents didn't pay enough attention for them, so they find out they're calming and blessing in the drugs, alcohol, gangs, and other dangerous things.
Okay, good. So the story behind this graph is that there is a huge problem and we need to solve it. Or we have to think about how to help teenagers, right? Okay, so now imagine that you work for New York Times. Okay, this article is taken from New York Times. Imagine that you work there. You're a journalist, okay? And now you receive this report and you see all of this data. You have to write an article and write a headline for it. Do you know, like title? Okay? So, in 3 or 4 words, how would you name this article?
Yes,
Please
maybe.
use a marker and write down your title on the board, okay?
Don't have any response.
So let's take a look at your titles. This was your group. Teenagers also have problems. Okay. This was the second big problem behind adults. Again, big problems with mental health. Okay, so I think the best idea is teenagers also have problems. So it means that teenagers are being overlooked and we need to pay more attention to their mental health. But we could also have, maybe like teenagers also have mental problems or something to specify. This all information is about American teenagers. This is all across the globe in another country, right? What do you think are some problems that Kyrgyz teenagers are having right now?
Yes.
I think we don't have that.
Okay.
We are more simple than.
Okay, so you're saying Kyrgyz teenagers don't have any problems.
Not all, not all. Yeah.
Okay, not all. Eristan is saying
I think gangs is the most biggest problem in our country.
why?
Um,
In our schools, yeah?
Not only schools, in our country also.
Uh-huh.
I can say another.
Just wait. I want to know why.
Because gangs now is the most popularity thing in our city.
What do they do?
He said right things.
For
Yes.
example, bullying and beat someone and
Uh-huh.
Take money.
take money.
Uh-huh. Do they still practice it in school where
Yes.
like high graders come and take money from the younger students?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Aruke, you wanted to say?
I can another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Many teenagers now are smoking.
Smoking. Ah, yes, this was not on the list.
Also is depression because many of relatives and parents are now not interested in their children, and children, for example, is very lonely and he just wants to somebody talk with him, but nobody talk with him, and he start to be sad, and after this it's the beginning of depression.
Let's discuss how can we combat or what solutions can we think of to help with these problems. Okay. Yes, Aruke?
Many rules in Kyrgyzstan isn't strong, and that's why people can, if they are not 18 years old, they can buy
Energetics.
energetics,
Uh-huh.
cigarettes, and alcohol. That I think if our rules are stronger,
Uh-huh.
this process
Will decrease. Okay. Okay. How about smoking? What can we do about smoking?
It's first political problems we should decide, and then all these problems will be decided by themselves.
Mm-hmm. So independently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As a homework, you can go to this website that I showed you. I can send you a link and read more. And if you find something interesting, we can discuss it in the next class, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, here we are again, back on our virtual teacher's room. So, Tolunay, can you please tell us more about your lesson?
Yeah, during this lesson, students were looking at the chart and trying to make sense of it, interpret, analyze it. And it's one approach to teaching STEM when we give students authentic context which relates to their life. It's like meaningful learning for them.
Isn't it amazing? So please tell us more about how did you achieve your goal?
Yeah, so as you have noticed, there were 3 stages of this activity. First, students just look at the graph and try to answer. What do they notice? In this stage, students just look at the information, you can also guide them to look for similarities or differences. For example, like what's the highest number on this chart or what's the lowest? And then the second stage is where they try to answer the question, what do you wonder? Or what makes you curious about this chart? And in the last stage, students have to write or answer the question, what's the story behind it? And it makes them, from the data that was given, come to a certain conclusion.
That's amazing. I also like that the graphs that you were using were taken from the real life, from the real report, right? So
Yeah.
is there a way we can find it on the web? Is it open resource?
Yeah, so the graphs that I usually use are from New York Times Learning Network. You can go to their website and look for what's going on this graph. And they post a new graph every week, and sometime later they post a reveal, which is basically like an extended information about the graph. In addition to that, interpreting graphs actually is like a common task in English language exams. It will be easier for them to use it in their exams.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, there are so many positive things that you can use just by devoting 10 or 15 minutes of your class and make it as a routine.
Yeah.
So today we talked about mental health, and the next lesson we can continue talking more about topics that are relevant to students' interests.
Yeah.
And I noticed that since you mentioned when you tried to personalize the task in the last stage, students were saying that maybe the reason why students the number of students who answered the question about depression was higher than students who disagreed that they have depression is because parents nowadays they have this generation gap where they can't communicate well with each other, and that's why they thought that they're depressed because there was some kind of miscommunication. And it tells us that students are aware of the problem that is present nowadays, and that's why they shared their opinions and they were open to discuss these topics.
Yeah, and most importantly, during those discussions, we try to find solutions to the problem. Mm-hmm. So it might get them into thinking, so what can I do for this to solve this problem, or what can I do for my community, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things not mentioned here is when they go through all these 3 stages, students develop deeper thinking, constructive thinking. Also, when we were asking for their opinion, we asked to back up their claims with evidence. Mm-hmm. If I say like many teenagers are experiencing depression, how do you know this? Why are you saying this? Mm-hmm. And they say, okay, if you look at this chart, 70% of the respondents are saying this. Mm-hmm. So it helps them to develop argumentation skills, which is essentially a very good skill when you're growing up.
Yeah, and my last question to Luna is, since you took the data from the American website and it's about American teenagers, is there a way we can somehow relate it to Kyrgyzstan, somehow relate to students' lives?
Well, most of the data on New York Times website is about universal problems, mm-hmm. but if you want to localize it, you can always go to National Statistics Committee website mm-hmm.
in
Kyrgyzstan, and it has all the data that's sorted by gender, age, or regions, and it actually has information from different years. Mm-hmm. So you can take something from 2020 and compare it to 2000, and make your students like draw their conclusions from this comparison.
Yeah, I see that there are so many activities that you can do with graphs, and I hope you are, taking notes and making sure that you're definitely going to use these graphs in your own lessons. Yeah, we encourage you to do it because it only takes 10 to 15 minutes a week, and once you make it a routine, your students will get used to it, and it will be easier for them to come to conclusions and interpret data. If I want to connect it and expand the students' skills, and I think a great option would be to collaborate with your computer science teacher and then ask him to teach how these charts are made using. I know that we can easily use Excel, so maybe your computer science teacher can help you with teaching how to create these graphs.
And actually, you can do it vice versa. You can give your students a report, and based on that, you can ask your students to create interesting graphs or charts. That way, it allows them for more creativity.
Yeah, and as we already mentioned, there are so many different activities that you can do with graphs. and we hope you will try it and share your thoughts with us using Lingua's Facebook or Instagram pages.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for your replies.
Thank you so much for joining today, and see you next time.
Bye bye.